The psalmist proclaims, "Make a joyful noise, all the earth. Worship your God with gladness." Even in the midst of all of our COVID restrictions about singing, we continue to make a joyful noise as we lift up our hearts, our very spirits in gladness. And today we do that even more so, for it is a day of celebration. For as is our tradition, today's the day when we gather in community, when we gather as a church family to celebrate, to give thanks for the ministry that is ours. To gather in this place and in our places where we find ourselves, being it in a living room or office space or here in the sanctuary, or maybe folks are still snuggled in bed as they join us this morning. It is a day to celebrate the ministry we share, the year that has been and the year to come, as we make a joyful noise in celebration of who we are as the people of God. Today, our worship and work is woven together as one as we gather for what is the 96th annual meeting of this congregation, and it is good to gather together. As always, as we gather, I draw your attention to announcements that are in the bulletin and those on the green insert in the bulletin, to take a moment to go through the announcements printed there. Our time is now. Our online Lenten book study will continue this week, and we have been gathering on Zoom, and we'll do so this week as we look at Joan Chittister's book, The Time Is Now, which is a call for us to be prophets, to follow in the lines of the prophets of old and the prophets of our day, and to take up our faith and to truly live it. So it is a challenging call by Sister Joan Chittister. One of the ways that we seek to live out our faith and our prophetic call is in our acts of hospitality, who we are as a church community, welcoming and including and drawing the circle wide, as the hymn goes. And next Sunday we will celebrate who we are as we mark Palm Sunday. Now this may be a new celebration to many, but March 14th is Pi, P-I Day, the third 14th Pi Day, but in churches, not only the United Church, but other church partners, is P-I-E Day, which stands for Public, Intentional, Explicit. And those are some of the key words that we hold ourselves to as we seek to be a welcoming and affirming and inclusive community of faith. And so next Sunday we gather on Pi Sunday, and we'll mark that day, learning more about Pi and the affirming program of our United Church. And we will be welcoming as our special guest Vanya McMillan from the Pictou County Sexual Health Center, which she'll talk about why it is important that church communities be places of warmth and welcome, inclusiveness, and embrace. So we'll gather next Sunday. Also, you'll note on the green inserts a couple of announcements regarding events that are happening this week. The Father Greg McLeod Lecture Series, which has gone online from Cape Breton University, and that's a wonderful thing for us who are not near Cape Breton University, because this year's speaker is Mary Jo Leddy. Mary Jo, again, comes out of the Roman Catholic tradition, but for years she's been the director of Romero House for Refugees in Toronto. And Sister Leddy will be speaking about the other face of God when the stranger calls us home. So if you're able to join online and join with Sister Leddy in that lecture series, and the information is there in the bulletin. And again, living out our faith in action, there's information in your bulletin around guaranteed livable income. There has been a working group developed in this area in Pictou County, in the province, and nationally around lobbying our government to consider guaranteed livable incomes. Much of what we do to address issues of hunger and poverty and social inequality is very important, and it is essential. But we still have people who do not earn enough to meet the basic needs of food, shelter, health needs, and so a guaranteed livable income is a call of the churches, and again, there is information there in your bulletin. Tomorrow, it's International Women's Day, so don't forget to mark International Women's Day in whichever way you want to mark it. Maybe you want to sing a song from one of your favorite female singers, or just thank women in general and wish them an International Women's Day, but that is tomorrow. But today is also a day of celebration, because we have numerous people, many people, who are getting old, or have got old, who are old. Sorry, Ruth. Yesterday? Ruth had a birthday yesterday. Sorry, Donna. This coming week? Donna's having a birthday this coming week. And look at them sitting together. Spider and William. They're sharing a birthday this week, and William's getting really old. We won't say how old he is, but he's getting quite legal in many places. Sorry, Val. Sorry, Dave. Any other birthdays and celebrations? No one else is willing to admit it now. Happy birthday. Let's sing and hum together. So it is that we being our worship and work as one we gather. And it is in the name of God, the source of all love, in the name of Jesus Christ, love incarnate, and in the name of the Spirit, love's power, that I declare this worship service and our 96th annual Congregational meeting of Pictou United Church to be woven as one and duly constituted to attend to all the work and ministry that should properly come before it. I would ask for a motion that the order of worship as printed in the bulletin be adopted as the agenda for this 96th annual Congregational meeting. If someone would make that motion for me. I see Sharon, moved by Sharon, a seconder, please. I see Dave Hicks. It's duly moved and seconded. Any questions? Ready for the vote? All in favor, please raise their hand. Contrary-minded, raise your hand. Passed. Thank you. Invite Chris Landry on behalf of the Nominations Committee to come forward.
I would like to move, and it's seconded by Carolyn Moore, that Diane Vaughn and Brian Burrs be nominated as co-chairpersons for the Pictou United Church Council and Congregation.
It's being duly moved and seconded that Brian Burrs and Diane Vaughn be nominated as our co-chairpersons. Any questions? All those in favor signify by raising their hand. Thank you. Contrary-minded? Doesn't count. With thanks, amen. Thank you. Motion passed. So,
I would move, seconded by Carolyn Moore again, that Wanda Terrio be nominated as Secretary of Pictou United Church Council and Congregational meeting.
It's been moved and seconded. Are there any questions or discussion? If not, I'll ask for a vote. All those in favor signify by raising your hand. All those contrary? No? Okay, motion carried.
One more, Chris.
One more?
Yeah.
Which one is it?
About myself.
Okay, pardon me, folks. In order to facilitate the weaving of our worship and work together, I would move, seconded by Carol, that with the agreement of Brian and Diane, that the Reverend Mary Beth Moriarty be named as chairperson for today's 96th annual meeting, only for the purpose of weaving our worship and work together.
Thank you, Chris. There's a motion on the floor. All those in favor signify by raising their hand. All those opposed? Motion carried.
Thank you. And I would ask for a motion that those present, members and adherents, be given the right to speak and vote at this meeting, except on those matters specifically excluded by the manual. It's been duly moved as seconder. Bill Dodson, duly moved and seconded. All in favor, please signify by raising your hand. Contrary minded. Motion passed. Thank you. Indeed, the church is not a place, it is a people. The church is not simply a building, a steeple, a pew. The church is the gathering together of all the people and experiences and fear and love and hope in our resilient hearts. Gathering however we can to say to the world, welcome, come in, lay down your heartache and pick up hope and love. For the church is us, each and every one of us, together, a beacon of hope to this world that so sorely needs it. So, beloved of God, come on a journey. We come as we are, worshiper and warrior, fearful and faith-filled, safely distanced and deeply connected. Beloved of God, come on a journey. We come as we are, anxious and awe-filled, being and becoming, broken and beautiful. Beloved of God, come on a journey and be reminded again and again that we are holy, that we are wholly loved. May we be enriched by the company of friends around us, the music that fills us, the ministry we share, the visions we hold, the faith that inspires us, the spirit that empowers us.
Praise the saints.
as we continue to journey through this season of Lent, we have been invited to ponder what it means to be the beloved of God, to be God's holy people, to be wholly loved and to share that love. As we gather in worship, we are reminded of the unity that we are invited to share with one another and indeed all people. A few months ago, a young poet laureate took the world and internet by storm with her poem, The Hill We Climb. Indeed, it was both prayer and call to unity, to action, to be better people, to create a better world. These words come from a very brief part of her longer composition by Amanda Gorman. But one thing is certain: if we merge mercy with might and might with right, then love becomes our legacy. Wouldn't that be amazing? Love is our legacy. If all that our legacy was love, it would be enough. We join with voices around our world when we use the Lord's Prayer or the prayer of Jesus. It reminds us as of oneness as people of Christian faith. But it is not only a call to oneness as Christians, but a oneness with all. The prayer of Jesus is a prayer that invites us into prayer and then out of prayer into action. I invite you to join with me in this prayer that is inspired by the Lord's Prayer that comes from the Reverend Dr. Francis McNabb of the United Church of Australia. Let us pray together. Good, caring presence within us, around us, and above us. Hold us in the sense of mystery and wonder. Let the fullness of your goodness be within us and around us. Let all the world know your ways of caring and generosity. May we find we have all we need to meet each day without undue anxiety. Overlook our many stupidities and help us to release everyone from their stupidities. May we know we are accepted. Strengthen us that we will reach out to the best, always with the faith to rise above the ugly realities of our existence. And we celebrate the gifts you have given us, the rich kingdom of life's possibilities, the power to do good, and the triumphs of good. And the moments when we have seen the glory and wonder of everything. You are life's richness, you are life's power, you are life's ultimate meaning, always and for everyone and forever. folks following their kindness calendar? Are you being kind this Lent? Always kind? Anyone hold the door open for someone this week? Good. Anyone say a nice thing to a stranger? I said, oh, that's good. What about making someone laugh? Anyone make someone laugh? I seem to do that on an ongoing basis. I know Diane was hugging a tree on her walk, or she said she was going to. Did you hug a tree? You found one to hug. Anyone else hug a tree? Oh, there, a tree hugger friend. You hope no one saw you. Kindness spreads. If someone sees you hugging a tree, maybe we'll have more tree huggers around this town. I think that's a good thing. Now today, anyone look at today's yet? If you've been mean, anyone been mean in the last few days? No mean? Anyone been cranky in the last few days? Bill just pointed to Margaret Ann. Margaret Ann, tell Bill you're sorry. So if you be mean or cranky, and we all have mean or cranky moments, don't we? No? Does anyone here not ever get cranky? Diana, you're just so perfect. When I grow up, I want to be just like you. That's why I have my hair like this. No one listens to you. They'll see you being cranky. So now, Diane, you too say sorry to Bill after church, and Bill will feel good, and Bill won't be cranky. So we're still trying to share our kindness as a way to express God's love that is at work in each of us. And we've been singing a song, and I think that song helps us not to be cranky. Because I know through the week I'll sing it to myself. It's a great song. Many of us sang it as children or sang it to our children. And if you'll notice this week, Donna even wrote new words for us as we're celebrating our ministry. So thank you, Donna. We love you. It has been a year. Little did we know when we gathered last year on February 16th and then on March 1st what the year would hold for us. Taking a moment to celebrate the ministry that is ours is a tradition. One of the ways we do that is through the printing of an annual report that is filled with reports and stories and facts and figures and pictures and an uplifting of the year. But it can never fully capture a year. And perhaps we can never fully capture a year, especially the year that has been. It is said that hindsight is 20/20. Kind of prophetic statement after being through 2020. So I want to just invite us to take just a moment to think back, if you're able, over this past year. And as you think about the life and ministry that we are a part of, is there something that pops into your heart or mind? Something for which you would like to say, thank you. That's be good. Sorry, Brian? FaceTime, all the social media, the FaceTime things, the Facebook things we've done, the use of marketing, the gazebo in the garden. Diane and Chrissy and their faithful phone calls to many in our community. Others.
I'd like to thank all the people that have come up with different ideas for different fundraisers and activities in the church.
That bubbling up of creativity that's happened in the midst of all those restrictions. Yeah. Other?
All the people who supported our God.
Supported God. Our outside services. Tom?
I want to thank everybody that was inquiring about me and serving and all that for the last year.
The support. The love and support. That's so important, isn't it? Other things that folks. What? Zoom. Little did we know we learned how to Zoom. How many people knew, if you think back to last January, and anyone, how many people had heard of Zoom? Few people who had done some online things, but Zoom has become Zoom and FaceTime and Facebook Live, all those things that have become a common part. Other things you want to give thanks for?
The grant monies that make it possible for us to do the soup for seniors.
Right, outreach and the money. And you.
The spirit led garden, the gardeners, that was a big saving grace.
And I know for me personally, having that outside space to be able to safely meet and visit with people was a true gift. That we had a space that I could say and safely meet outside, and that was a true gift. Tom?
I forgot one. And hours of their biscuits and soups and foods you took out for me.
You got biscuits and soup, Tom? Good acts of care. I want to give thanks for our ministry staff, to Sandy and to David and to Shelley and to Sally. I think we just had the right combination of people to address what we needed to address, and then to our amazing choir who were able to step up and figure out how can we still offer meaningful worship online and in person in the midst of restrictions. So I'm so grateful for my colleagues in worship and in ministry.
And to you, Mary Beth.
We are very grateful for you.
Thank you. I appreciate that. Other things that we're thankful for. Sorry? The prayer flags that fly, reminding us of our prayers moving out into the world. It is good to pause to give thanks, because it has been a hard year. It's been a hard year personally, it's been a hard year corporately, it's been a hard year in communities, it's been a hard year for so many people. And I think of the essential workers, and I'm looking around the congregation and I see many essential workers who've had a hard year. It's been wearing body and soul and spirit. And so we continue to offer our care and support to one another, because though we mark a year, we also know that we live in the uncertainty of the days and months to come. So we continue to work and worship and minister together. Tom Schumann, who is someone whose worship I have appreciated and whose words have spoken to me long before the beginning of 2020, offers this. We are the church when we are inside a building and when we are outside, caring for others. We are the church when we gather to pray and when we disperse to be the answers to prayers. We are the church when we sing hymns and songs and when we tell stories to little children and big children too. We are the church when we listen to scripture and when we share that good news with strangers. We are the church. Not because of a building, or songs, words, or worship, meetings, or polity, but because of a life, and when we share that life with the world. We have shared the life of faith with our world and in our world. And we do give thanks for the ministry we share. So at this point, we move into some of the formal pieces of work that needs to be done as we gather, as we adopt the minutes from last year of our 95th annual congregational meetings. And I invite Juan Ontario as Council Secretary and Congregational Secretary to make a motion regarding those minutes.
I move that the minutes of the 95th annual congregational meetings held on February 16th and March 1st, 2020 be accepted as printed.
It's been duly moved. Seconder, please. Mary? It's been moved and seconded. Any questions? If not, all those in favor, please signify by raising their hand. Thank you. Contrary minded, raise your hand. Carried. Thank you. I hope you've had a chance to go through our 2020 annual report. A few folks have pointed out to us some typos that are in the report, and our official report is being corrected. So if there are typos that you see, please point them out and we can correct our official report. There isn't anything that has been pointed out that significantly changes what's in there. Bottom lines or things are correct, but there are little typos that we will change, as I said, in our official copy that gets sent to the regional council, and that is kept in our archives. And so with that being said, I would invite a motion that the 2020 annual report be received as printed. If someone is willing to make that motion. Mike, I see Mike. A seconder, please. Carolyn, thank you. It's been moved and seconded. Any questions around that? If not, all those in favor, please signify by raising your hand. Contrary minded? Carried. Let us give thanks. the things that I tend to do is that when I find favorite quotes or words of wisdom, I either clip them out or write them out and I put them on the bulletin board that I sit and face when I'm working in the office, or put them in a little journal. And this has been one from Sue Monk Kidd that I often turn to. She offers these words: when you can't go forward, and you can't go backward, and you can't stay where you are without killing off something deep and vital in yourself, you are on the edge of creation. This year has been a time to be on the edge of creation, and we've heard some of the ways we've sought to be creative and sought to respond. I was reading an article this week, and the author was responding to a question that they're I guess one of the leaders in church development and mega churches. And the question put to this author was, will the church survive? Will we come out of COVID as church? Will churches survive? And the author was basically saying it's the wrong question. What we need to ask ourselves is, will the church be faithful? Because that's our call. Our call isn't to survival. Our call is to faithfulness. And in order to ask if we've been faithful, it's also to ask ourselves, what have we learned? Because it's a learning opportunity. We need to learn. So what's the wisdom that we bring with us as we move forward? Is there a learning? Not only for us as a church, but maybe a learning for yourself personally, because even a personal learning can help us, right? So is there something you've learned from the last 12 months? Sanitize. Keep clean. It's a big thing, isn't it? I mean, I've heard reports saying that, numbers of colds and flus, in fact, are right down this year. People are healthier. Our hands may be destroyed and sore, but people are healthier. Keep healthy. And sanitizing is also about taking care of one another, right? We sanitize, we wear masks because we're also taking care of one another and helping all of us to be well. That's a good lesson. Not that I want to live with masks, but it's a good lesson for us to learn about taking care. Other lessons we've learned.
Appreciating the little things that you took for granted, like how.
Appreciating the little things, yeah. Yeah. That we can be creative. We have that within us. There is a creative spirit within us. Other things people have learned? Andrew?
I think I've learned what's really important.
Yeah.
A lot of the stuff I thought was, and it isn't.
Yeah. It's really focused us, hasn't it, in some ways, on what is important. Other things we've learned, and folks have learned in this past year.
I think we've learned about the need for outreach in a whole new way through social media. There's need for that.
Yeah. It's created a whole new dimension to our ministry, one that we're still growing into. And hi, everyone who's watching this. Sometimes it's, when I was saying the other day to someone, when I would do off-the-cuff remarks in church, I would leave church and sometimes think, oh my God, I can't believe you said that, Mary Beth. But at least I could deny it, right? If someone said, I heard you said this in church, I could say, I never said that. No. It's recorded. It's there. Other things we've learned.
Blessing of patience.
The blessing of faith. Thank you, Donna. Yeah. something I'm still working on. You know. I hear Sandy laughing up there. Other things people have learned. Any other lessons? It's that wisdom that we carry forward. In my words of my annual report, I drew upon a poem by Laura Kelly Bonucci, and her words, "When this is over." And I just want to share those again this morning. When this is over, may we never again take for granted a handshake with a stranger, full shelves at the store, conversations with neighbors, a crowded theater, Friday night out, the taste of communion, a routine checkup, the school rush each morning, coffee with a friend, a stadium roaring, each deep breath, a boring Tuesday. Life itself. When this ends, may we find that we have become more like the people we wanted to be, we were called to be, we hope to be. And may we stay that way, better for each other because of the worst. Better for each other because of the worst. Let us give thanks. Our Song of Faith proclaims, "We sing of God's good news lived out, a church with purpose, faith nurtured and hearts comforted, gifts shared for the good of all, resistance to the forces that exploit and marginalize, fierce love in the face of violence, human dignity defended, members of a community held and inspired by God, corrected and comforted. Instrument of the loving Spirit of Christ, creation's mending, we sing of God's mission. We are each given particular gifts of the Spirit for the sake of the world. God calls all followers of Jesus to Christian ministry. In the church, some are called to specific ministries of leadership, both lay and ordered. Some witness to the good news, some uphold the art of worship, some comfort the grieving and guide the wandering. Some build up the community of wisdom. Some stand with the oppressed and work for justice. To embody God's love in the world, the work of the church requires the ministry and discipleship of all believers. We are each given particular gifts of the Spirit. I want you just to ponder for a moment. I'm not going to put you on the spot here. But think for a moment about the particular gifts you have and the particular gifts that you have shared over these past year. Shared as part of the ministry of this congregation, or shared as part of your professional work, shared within family and friends and strangers. What gifts have you shared? Just ponder that for a moment. And then turn your attention to what gifts have been shared with you. What gifts have you received over this past year? The giving and the receiving, the connecting that happens between us as we share gifts and as we receive those gifts. Both are blessings. Blessed to share, blessed to receive. We do give thanks for the particular gifts that are shared within this community of faith, and especially through the ministry of our council and its committees and working groups. And this year, we've had to adjust in many ways to the way we meet together as a council and the way we work together as committees, and have had to do that at a distance and online and in person, and our ministry has shifted, and we do give thanks for all those who are part of the work of our council and committees and working groups. And I'm going to invite Chris on behalf of the nominations committee to come and share the nominations report for this year.
It is with gratitude and thanksgiving that the nomination committee acknowledges and gives thanks for all who have served and serve on our council and its committees. In your bulletin, you will find a draft of our current listing of our members of council and council committees and working groups. We give thanks to those who have responded to the invitation to offer their time and talents in support of the ministry of our council committees. Please know new members are always needed, appreciated, and welcomed. You will never be turned away if you volunteer. Never. So please continue to gratefully consider offering your blessings and time. So there are a few necessary motions that need to be made today. We give thanks for the ministry of David Carriel as a trustee of Picture United Church. And at his request, I move, seconded by Carolyn, that we accept the resignation of David Carriel as a trustee, and that he will be removed as a trustee of Picture United Church.
Thank you. This is one of the pieces of governance that is required around trustees because they hold a legal signing authority, so we need to, at a congregational meeting when they resign, to officially remove them. I know it sounds harsh, but it is something we just need legally to do in terms of the minutes. So the motion is that at his request, we accept the resignation of David Terrio as a trustee and that he be removed from the listings of trustees. It's been moved and seconded. Any questions around that? All in favor, please signify by raising your hand. Thank you. Contrary minded? With that, motion is passed.
I move, and seconded by Carolyn Moore, that David Austin be elected as a trustee of Picture United Church.
And again, because of the legal signing authority around trustees, it needs to come before a congregational meeting, so it's been duly moved that David Austin be elected as a trustee. Any questions? All those in favor, please signify by raising your hand. Contrary minded? Passed. Thank you.
I move, seconded by Carolyn Moore, that Tom McCarthy be elected as a trustee of Picture United Church. Did I miss one?
And any questions? All those in favor, please raise your hands. Contrary minded? With thanks, motion is passed.
Did I do that also?
Yeah?
Okay. I thought I heard somebody saying I missed one. I would move, seconded by Carolyn Monroe, yes, that Margaret Ann Dodson and David Burrow be elected as our regional council representatives.
Thank you, Chrissy. Regional Council used to be what we called Maritime Conference, and one of the acts of our congregation is named 2 representatives to Regional Council who have been, at this point, just meeting virtually. Okay. No plans for Regional Council in-face meetings, but virtual meetings. And so a motion for Margaret Ann and David Burrow to be elected. Any questions? All those in favor, please signify by raising your hands. Contrary minded? Motion passed. Thank you.
I would move, seconded by Carolyn Moore. This is just for a matter of making things go a little faster and a little smoother today, and you can see with my stammer and that it's a good thing because of this. That the Council of Pictou United Church be composed of those members of Pictou United Church who have been elected or appointed to the following offices and positions: Council Co-Chairs, Council Secretary, Council Treasurer, Chairperson of the Co-Chairs of the following Council Committees: Christian Education and Faith Formation Committee, Finance and Stewardship Committee, Ministry and Personnel Committee, Pastoral Care and Outreach Committee, Trustees and Property Committee, Worship Committee, Nominations Committee, Ways and Means Committee, Regional Council Representatives, and our Ministry Personnel.
Thank you. In our new governance structure that we began with last year, instead of naming individuals, we're naming by position, so that if those positions change in the year, we're not having to redo motions, but it's by those positions, and that is according to our governance structure. Any questions around that? We moved and seconded. All in favor, please raise your hands. Thank you. Contrary minded? Motion passed. Thank you, Kristen. Nominations. And so we share in the ministry that is ours and God's together. One way that we proclaim the ministry we share is through our mission statement. And our mission statement proclaims that within the Congregation of Pictou United Church, we are committed to providing a place and atmosphere that will enhance spiritual growth and encompass all ages, celebrating and nurturing our Christian faith through meaningful worship and music, enhancing a spirit of fellowship and faith development through events and programs that acknowledge and affirm the gifts and talents of God, and sharing with God in ministries of care and outreach within and beyond the community to create a just world for all. Together, with members of council, with our council committees and working groups, we seek to live out the ministry we proclaim. We seek to live out our faith in action. I referred to earlier the Lenten book by Joan Chittister that some of us are reading. And Joan Chittister has a very simple call in that book. And she basically says, if you're not living your faith, you're not being faithful. Faith is only faith when it's lived out in action. And so we seek to be bearers of faith, to live out our faith in action. So I ask all of us, will you prayerfully and faithfully, with integrity and with joy, join with one another so that together we may live out the ministry we proclaim?
I will.
grace of God. Let us give thanks. The wisdom of the rabbinic text reminds us, do not be daunted by the enormity of the world's grief. Do justly now. Love mercy now. Walk humbly now. You are not obligated to complete the work, but neither are you free to abandon it. As our worship draws to a close, we also draw our work of this annual meeting to a close. Is there any other business that needs to come before our meeting today?
First of all, I want to tell you how wonderful it was to work with Brad over these years. I don't know how many years, Brad? 19, 20, or more? 17 years. Brad and I have worked together as co-chairs. He'd take one meeting, I'd take the next. He'd sign one paper, I'd sign the next, and so forth. So I just want you to know that he's a wonderful person to work with, and I think we should all show a bit of appreciation. And as you know, this past year has been a time of increased stress for our congregation and a time of worrisome financial strain on Pickett United Church. We have, however, been blessed by the dedication and generosity of so many who reached out with programs that enabled us to provide support for those in isolation and those feeling uncertain and even afraid. And we were also blessed with those who found creative ways to fundraise and through the generosity of so many help us overcome a looming deficit. To those people, we can only say on behalf of our council and the wider congregation, thank you.
We have several people in particular to thank for their extraordinary efforts during this challenging year. One is our treasurer, Brenda Parker. We owe so much to her business acumen and tireless efforts to look after our finances, especially in this last year. So on behalf of our congregation and the Pickett United Church, we will present to Brenda when we see her a token of our appreciation. And I had a word from her a couple of days ago to say that she wouldn't be here, that she's home looking after and preparing tax returns. So there really is no rest for Brenda, and for her to find the time that she did to look after our finances was just remarkable. So perhaps we can give her a nice round of applause. Over the past year, however, several people in particular have literally carried our congregation and our church on their shoulders. We saw their dedication, patience, creativity, and faithfulness as they worked tirelessly, week after week, to enable our congregation to stay connected, grounded in faith, and spiritually uplifted. To them, we owe a very special thank you. And so, as we present each with a small token of our appreciation, on behalf of the congregation and our council, we ask that you join in expressing our heartfelt gratitude to our staff, David and Shelley Potts, Sally O'Neill, who isn't here today, although I did notice that she has an extraordinarily accomplished substitute. So maybe that's choir direction training. Sandy Kai. I think we all appreciate his tremendous effort that he's put in the last year with the work that had to be done to connect us online and to prepare bulletins and handouts and things like that. Extraordinary effort. And perhaps most especially to our minister, Mary Beth Poirier. God bless you all.
Thank you. We are indeed a blessed community of faith. Are there any other business that needs to be named and brought before us today? If not, oh, yeah?
This has been a very difficult year for Victory Unit Church, but you are the glue that kept us together.
Well, thank you, Laura. I appreciate it. Pretty sticky sometimes. Thank you. I would entertain a motion that the 96th Annual Congregational Meeting of Pictou United Church be adjourned with our closing blessing. If someone would make that motion. Ruth, I see. Seconder? Chris? It's been moved and seconded. Any questions? All in favor, please signify by raising your hand. Contrary minded, nay. Motion carries. Thanks be to God. For our faith, for our prayers to have meaning, they must be transformed into action. Let us remember always, grace is essential, love is essential, hope is essential, peace is essential, justice is essential, mercy is essential, kindness is essential, inclusion is essential, wonder is essential, humility is essential, tenderness is essential, generosity is essential, forgiveness is essential, faith is essential, everything else is window dressing. So let us go into this day, into this week, into these Lenten days to live what is essential. Blessed be, blessed are we.